From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Welcome into another episode. I'm Bobby. He's Brandon.
Hey-o.
You can find us on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod. Now let's crack open this cold beer and let's get after it. We got Founders All Day IPA.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this beer.
I don't know. For something that's supposed to be I thought it said seasonal ale. It says just a session ale.
Yeah, it's not a seasonal.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was like an all season ale. Like, it was a light IPA.
Well,
I don't know what a session ale is, just for one session.
It's an all session ale. You can have it for any session, any type of session.
All right. Today we've got news and notes from around the league. We've got our games of the week, and we are talking the Mandalorian Season 2. So beware, there are heavy spoilers in that discussion. Don't forget to check us out on What a Maneuver and Patreon to support the show. And how are you this week, buddy?
Doing pretty good. I just wanted to give you an update. A session beer is any beer that contains no higher than 5% ABV. So,
okay.
It's a balance between malt and hop characters, according to Google. But I'm doing pretty well. We had a fun little D&D campaign on Saturday. Looking forward to keeping that going.
Yeah, it was a good time.
But not a whole lot. Fun watching some football this weekend, and not so fun watching some hockey this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Predators fan, obviously hockey in itself always fun to watch, but not a drumming as they say. So. But yeah, man, it was a good week. You, what about you? Anything special going on for you?
It was pretty good. The Preds games kind of sucked to watch. Hopefully they pull it out tonight versus Chicago. But overall, it was fun watching some hockey. The good weekend of football. That was always fun. But so let's move on to some news.
Everything you need to know about what's happening on the ice. It's time for news from inside the boards.
We got some trades. The Jets send Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Pierre-Luc Dubois and a 2022 third-round pick. I called it when I said it'd be sooner rather than later. And I think it was like 2 days after we recorded the show last week, and they ended up getting rid of him. I mean, they had to. There was a clip of him in a puck battle. He was not. I mean, I think he went out there for like one 30-second stint and just did nothing. He was, wasn't even bending his knees. He looked like he was just out there for just a nice little skate.
Yeah. You definitely called that. I think it's a great move for both sides. I mean, both players were seemingly unhappy in their organization. The flip from the second pick and the third pick of the 2016 draft. So that's pretty intriguing that it really worked out for both sides.
I mean, the Jets really won this trade because Pierre-Luc Dubois is the better player, I think. I mean,
well, he's just
and he's a center, so they're getting they're getting more bang for their buck. And I mean, the Blue Jackets get a Fortnite player.
That's why. But in my opinion, that's why the Jets won, is because the center is always going to be a more versatile player. I mean, Patrick Laine, though, the Blue Jackets could most certainly win this trade should they be able to lock him up a longer term, because I mean, Patrick Laine is one of the greatest goal scorers in the league right now. So maybe we've seen a decline of him since his rookie season because he's been unhappy with the Jets for a while now. So this could be ultimately, it's one of those rare trades where big players, big stars are involved, and it seems like while somebody may come out on top, it seems like a good deal overall for everybody.
I agree. And, you know, when I say the Jets won, I mean, they won by a small margin simply because the position they got. You know, I joke about Patrick Laine just being a Fortnite player. He's still a, superstar in this league. Yeah, and hopefully he turns it around from his last, 2 seasons. But I think that was mainly because of the team he was on, and just they've been on a downward projection. And hopefully this trade will change. I think this trade could change it for both teams.
Absolutely. When long term, obviously yet to be seen, but short term, especially in a shortened season, I mean, the Blue Jackets would definitely win because of Canada's quarantine rules. I mean, 2 weeks guaranteed. It doesn't matter, what else happens, negative test, whatever. Pierre-Luc Dubois couldn't play for 2 weeks from the trade, so I would imagine that Ohio's quarantine laws are a little bit more lax. They're like, did you just write that negative test? We'll take it. Come on in, buddy. You're welcome to Ohio. But no, it's good to see a big blockbuster trade that hopefully will make both players happy. And if it doesn't, then you start to question whether or not it was the organization that was the problem, and these two guys are being divas. So. Yeah. But another trade that kind of came out right after we recorded, not a blockbuster like that one. Maybe I should have put this one first on the dock, huh? But the Wild send Greg Pattern
looks right
to the defenseman to the Avalanche for Ian Cole. I personally find the winner of that trade to be the Wild. I mean, Ian Cole is a great two-way defenseman, really. He's not a huge offensive guy, but he can provide a little offense, and he's a big time hitter. He will give the Wild even more grit than they already had. So that was a good trade. It probably hurt fantasy-wise with Cole not being on as offensive of a team. But I think, again, a good trade, overall.
We got the Central Division has been hit hard by postponements. 4 teams, Dallas, Tampa, Florida, and Carolina, have at least 50-plus games in a 100-day span. That, I mean, as a fan point of view, that's amazing. I'm sure the Players Union and the teams aren't super excited about what this is going to do, honestly, long term for some of these players.
I want to go at it from a different side of the fan point of view, which is what makes fan points of view great, is that there is really no point of view because everybody has something different. I think this hurts you as a fan more than it helps you as a fan. I mean, we're not fans of any of these particular teams. As a Predators fan and other Central team fan, it seems helpful because you're cramming all these games in. There's a lot more likely chance that they're going to be having to sit some of these guys a good bit. So while I hear you, that means lots of hockey, but is it going to be the best hockey that we can see? I mean, obviously,
better than no hockey.
Right. Well, I mean, absolutely. We'll sit and watch a game, any type of game.
We watched that Preds Dallas game.
I watched all. No, I lied. Yeah.
I checked out when it was 5-0 to nothing.
5-0.
Yeah.
No,
5-0.
You were right. It was 5-0.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll really just depend on, each of these teams, where they're at towards the end of the season. Are they in a good playoff position? Are they in a bad playoff position? I don't think that it hurts Florida because they're Florida. So, but I don't think that it hurts Tampa Bay because of their depth. Dallas,
who knows?
I mean, who knows? They're looking stout right now. Carolina, another team that is a hopeful team for the playoffs and looked good last postseason. That could come into play, especially with a lot of youth there on Dallas's team, or Carolina's team, excuse me.
So we're about 2 weeks into the season now. Probably about
time for some overreactions.
Obviously. Yeah, I mean, it's Overreaction Tuesday. So what? Obviously, last week we talked about overperformers, underperformers, but I've got to say, man, I think Montreal's for real. I think that, I sent you guys a group.
Take that, Manny Blue.
I sent you guys in the group chat. I put my money where my mouth is. I put a decent amount of money on them, not only winning the division, but winning the cup. Nick Suzuki is looking good. They look to be firing on all cylinders. Hopefully they can keep that. I mean, obviously they're 4 games, maybe I think they're 6 games into the season, still got about 50 games left. I could see them winning the President's Cup this year.
It's nice to be able to overreact with our wallets nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I'm sure my wife loves that.
No, but in all actuality, the Habs are looking not just, it doesn't look like it's a flash in the pan. I know exactly what you're saying. They look for real. They are a complete team. They've always been pretty stout defensively when you add, Carey Price and some of the defensemen they bring to the table. Petrie, Weber, but their goal scoring, it looks ridiculously off the charts. I mean, like you said, Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, he's having a decent year. They are. I oftentimes try to find a way to disagree with you, Bobby, but it's hard for me to do so. Yeah. And obviously, go Habs. Yeah.
They were able. They've played the Oilers twice this season. They were able to outscore them 8-2 in those 2 showings. They were able to keep Draisaitl and McDavid to pretty much nothing. So that means that they're not just out there. Listen, they beat the Canucks 7-3 on the 21st. They are looking really good, man. Yeah,
they got a plus 11 goal differential right now, and that is by far not even close. It's the highest in the league. Yeah. The next best is Vegas at plus 7. And for the most part, you have a couple plus 5s. Dallas is plus 8, but that's not really a fair. That's not really a fair comparison, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I 100% agree with that. I want to go ahead and say, I don't even know that this would be considered an overreaction. And if it's not, feel free to make me have another overreaction. But Vegas is who we thought they were. They're looking good. 5-1 so far. They got a plus 7. They're looking strong, but if you're going to make me go somewhere else, a couple other teams that are not leading their division, but I want to highlight, Minnesota looks really good. Not a goal-scoring phenom like we're getting elsewhere, but they're looking good, and their stout defensive style of play has really led to, them being close to the top of the Honda West division. But Toronto, even with Matthews out, they had a bad showing, and then Matthews was out the next game and they came back hard. So it's really tough right now to kind of decipher who's
I'll be honest, it's hard for me to buy. Obviously Vegas I think is a good team. It's hard for me to buy into them just yet. They've played 6 games against 2 against the Ducks and 4 against the Coyotes.
But see, the problem is the way these divisions are set up.
Yeah.
That's all that.
I
really
get that,
matters.
but so they play the Blues. They play the Blues starting tonight. They got 2 games against them. Then they got the Sharks, which I think the Sharks are a decent team this year.
Yeah, they're not as bad as we thought they were.
And then the Kings. Listen, the Kings are still a good team. They've got Anze Kopitar is killing it there. So I want to see in about a week from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, where they are. And then they've got 4 straight games against the Avs. That's going to be, I think, the biggest litmus test for both of those teams. Let's see how they can come out of that 4. I think I think them in Colorado are going to be the 1 and 2 spot.
The Avs have not shown what a lot of people thought they were going to show though this year. They've had a couple of easier games.
For sure. Yeah.
That they've just not proven it that they're going to be able to go through this season as well as we thought that they were going to. So, I mean, there's lots of intriguing teams this year for sure. And it's 2 weeks into the season. It's hard to tell when teams have played 6 games,
especially with like the Ducks, or I'm sorry, the Avs. Listen, they split the beginning series with the first series with the Blues. Blues are not a bad team. Then they split the series with the Kings. And I don't think the Kings are as bad as everyone thinks they are. I think we need to give it some time. And then they split and went to overtime. They got an overtime winner against the Ducks after the Ducks got obliterated by the Avs. So it's kind of hard it would be hard to expect a team like the Ducks to get obliterated by the Knights and then go in and not show up with some fire under them against the Avs.
So let me make sure that I'm getting your thought process correctly, Bobby. The Canadians with 4 wins and 2 overtime losses, they're for real. You bet the farm on them. But the Avs with a loss to the Ducks, a loss to the Blues, and a loss to the Kings, we can't tell yet.
Hey, don't tell me how to do my overreaction, all right, buddy?
No, but seriously, I mean, it's exactly as we said. This is a kind of a time to kind of just talk
the difference
about
is the eye test. The Habs. I'm looking at how they're playing and how they're getting these wins. The Habs are looking dominant. The Avs,
for sure.
The Avs are looking like they're clicking. I think that they're just. I don't know if they just need some more time to start, getting these young guys going because they are a very young team. But I think the Avs, the magic is there.
Well, I've mostly agreed with you through this segment, so I wanted to bring up some way to make me feel superior to you. So that's really all that was. No, I mean, there's a lot of hockey to be played. The Penguins are, while simultaneously looking not great, are looking great on the sheet. All that matters is that win and loss and those points at the end of the season. So
Capitals are not looking good this year.
Yeah, but they're leading the division. Yeah. So I mean, that's why it's hard to kind of gauge right now. But exactly as you said, the eye test is important.
Yeah. So. I will say that, speaking of all these games, I wonder what genius said, you know what, let's do 13 games on Tuesday, Monday night, 1 game.
Yeah. No, we're talking about that a little bit in the fantasy show. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays are traditionally known as off nights. Now they've been a little bit more stacked this year because of the scheduling, but I mean, it's, it's crazy why I just never understood why Tuesdays and Thursdays are when we watch hockey. That's the hockey day.
Yeah.
And the Ducks are always playing Mondays and Wednesdays. And is this a California thing? I just don't get it. Like what at what point were they like Tuesdays? That's the day that we want to let's have 60 games on Saturday. 2 on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's not as though you can say, well, they wanted these guys to go to church and stuff. Yeah, but what about the other 4 teams?
All right. So former Coyotes GM John Chayka issued a suspension until December 31st, 2021. This is not having to do with the issues that the Coyotes had. This has to do with his leaving the team pretty much high and dry and talking to another team while he was still employed. Is that right?
Yeah. He was pursuing other opportunities while still under contract. He didn't leave and then go pursue other opportunities. He was
pursued and then left.
He was like, what up with that? Hey, you guys got a job for me? He was going for a job at like K Jewelers or something, No, but we had talked about it. We did we get him fired? No, we got the Sabres GM fired, not Chayka. But now we have to wait an entire year. And it's a weird dating too. It's until December 31st of 2021. Is that like a significant date? Like, you would think it would be
there's probably the union probably has like X amount of like time. So it probably can't surpass like a certain year. You can't, give a suspension like 3 years. It has to be like,
sure.
Yeah, it's probably some legal stuff. so that on January 1st, in 2022 he can do whatever he wants on the new year.
I guess that's what I'm getting at is like not January 31st, December 31st. I mean, most teams got their GM and executives and such locked in at that point. That's like middle of the season.
Or they wanted to give them the most inconvenient time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know at that time everyone is planning their New Year's party.
Right.
And so no New Year's party for you.
They're like, you have to call in at this time.
Yeah.
He calls.
You've got to come into an in-person meeting on that.
And he calls at his scheduled designated time to, revoke his show cause or suspension. And they're like, bro, I'm so sorry. We're closed.
Yeah.
We are closed. Holler at us next year.
Yeah. All right, let's move into outside the NHL.
Now that you know what's happening inside the boards, time for the rest of the headlines with news from outside the boards.
All right, we've got a Super Bowl matchup set. Kansas City Chiefs going into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is the first team to play Super Bowl in their home stadium. Tom Brady pretty much said to the first team, hey, who wants to go to Super Bowl? Let's go.
Yeah. I mean,
I say that jokingly. They've got a stellar defense, and he's got some dope weapons there.
The conference championships were good football games. I mean, obviously, one was a better football game than the other. I mean, that Packers game was intriguing. Now, I want to be very clear in what I'm saying here is that the Packers had every opportunity to win that football game. They did get hosed by the refs, but I'm never a guy of that's why you lost the football game. I'm sure I've talked about this 1,000 times, but when people wanted to say that pass interference call is why the Saints lost to the Vikings that one year, and then I always ask people, well, didn't they go into overtime and the Saints have the ball after that? So you never lose because of the refs, but it was certainly the end of game was certainly influenced by that. But 2 minutes left, and literally a guy that has played in since he's been alive, since he was born, played in like 48% of Super Bowls. You're gonna kick a field goal with 2 minutes left, Matt LaFleur? Are you kidding?
Arguably the best the last person you want to give the ball to when there's almost little time left on the clock.
Right.
Like, it's not like they were giving it to like Chad Henne.
Right. I mean, that was mind blowing. It makes the questionable decision that Mike Vrabel made not look at all questionable. I mean, you're 8 yards. You're 8 yards from the end zone. In that point, kicking the field goal, going for it and missing and having, you would have stood a much better chance at missing that fourth down conversion and then having Brady
make a mistake. Like, he's already made 3 mistakes.
Right. And those interceptions were bad interceptions. One was Mike Evans. Just not ish. Yeah, but it was a bad pass. It was a bad pass.
Yeah, but Mike Evans, here's the problem though. And I get it's one of those, and ifs or buts, but if Mike Evans hadn't dropped like the 3 passes that he dropped before that ball, they wouldn't have been in that situation. And it's not like they were
But under that argument, if the Packers would have scored more points, then they would have won.
Yeah. But also, he wasn't looking at the ball. If he was at least looking where the ball was on that one underthrown ball, he could at least attempted to do something.
It was like 4. I mean, he could have attempted, but also one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen, if not the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, also could have not thrown the ball inside 4 yards short.
Sure, yeah.
But that's regardless. He's made mistakes all game. You have them right there at the 8-yard line. He doesn't have a lot of room to work. If you stop them there with plenty of, the same amount of time that you're setting yourself up for, you are in better field position than if you kick it off and they have to punt. But no, it was a very intriguingly bad call, like to the point where there's a lot of folks that argue that, well, this is almost, saw somebody say something that I consider dumb. This is almost as bad of a decision of not giving Marshawn Lynch the football when the Patriots intercepted.
I think it's a worse decision.
Well, first of all, I will argue till the death of me that passing the football on that play was the right play, because it was second down. If the ball's incomplete, then you still get another chance to run. Yeah. So it's 2 plays against 1 play. It was the most unlikely thing to happen that ball got intercepted.
That was a full hindsight's 2020 reaction from a lot of people.
Sure, right, exactly. Because if Russell Wilson would have passed the touchdown, who's arguing with him? Yeah. But the other side of that,
or if he had checked down and ran it himself.
Sure. The other question, well, you couldn't run it. That was the point of the play, was that you didn't have any timeouts to stop the clock. But then you still have another chance for Marshawn Lynch to run the football. There is no way that you'll ever be able to argue that it was the right move. It was a 1-score game either way. You had to score a touchdown either way. So
get the hard part out of the way first. There's
the possible part. It was mind blowing. It was a terrible end to a terrible game, a terrible penalty called. I know.
If they were on the 35, 40 yard line, then that's feasible. Go for the field, because you're not
sure. But that's not a play that you make, but the final penalty, the penalty that set them up for the win, it was a penalty. For sure. I'm not sitting here arguing that it wasn't. But you didn't call. They
didn't call that holding call.
They didn't call the hold. Not only not call the hold, but you have the back referee that can see. Wirfs had him basically in a headlock, and dude still almost got the sack.
It was very clear that the back judge was doing we've been letting them play all game, I'm going to let them play on this. Yeah. And the other ref who called the pass interference or the defensive holding was like, okay, this is, I guess, a game time decision. I need to make a call by the book.
It was an uncatchable ball, and you're already going to get flack either way. So, on the drive where they kicked the field goal, where the Packers kicked the field goal, Devontae Adams legitimately got grabbed and spun around right in front of the referee, and you didn't call that. And they hadn't been calling it, so I'm okay with you not calling it. Yeah. Because that's the way that you've been calling the football game. You've established, when I played baseball when we were younger, the umpires would come, and because every umpire has kind of a different thought process of what strikes and what balls, what's a ball. They would come and they would say, my strike zone is X to X. And then you knew. And so you call within that. You may disagree that it's a strike or a ball, but I told you what it was. This is how I'm calling it. So it's just I don't care how obvious it was because the jersey was stretched. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're not calling it the whole way through. I find, and I'll rant a little bit more about that in my snaps my stick. But
what do you think? Brady's 3 second half interceptions. Do you think that says more about Brady or more about Aaron Rodgers, who was unable to capitalize on 3 turnovers that they couldn't get points?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a fantastic question. The game to me said way more about the Packers than it did about about Tampa Bay. I'm not going to sit here and say the worst team won, because that's not factually accurate, because obviously I think
Tampa was the better team. Honestly,
they were the better team overall, but only because the Packers weren't. Does that make any sense? The Packers, like you said, didn't capitalize on the opportunities given to them, and making Tampa the better football team. But that game should, especially in the second half, it should have been blown wide open by the Packers. Yeah. You score 2 touchdowns or even 10 points off of 3 turnovers. That game is obviously different, and obviously the flow of the game changes a little bit with scores off of those. But I think it says way more about the Packers than it does Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a good football team. I just don't see them as the Super Bowl team from the NFC personally. I mean, and that's just where I landed. But so winners win.
Yeah. Let's give our prediction. I had two ways to do this. I could either go with my heart, which is you don't bet against Brady. And I mean, you just don't. I mean, but my brain says that honestly,
the lost like 3 Super Bowls, more than anybody else ever has beside Jim Kelly. So,
but at the same time, it's. I mean, the Chiefs are just a amazing team. I mean, and if they, so I think it's going to come down. I think it's really going to come down to can the Tampa Bay defense stop the Chiefs' offense?
Yeah,
I don't think the Tampa Bay's offense can really keep up with them. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a lot of scoring.
They're literally going to have to do something that 100% of people have not been able to do for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Even in the Chiefs' losses, it wasn't because their offense was poor. It was because the other team scored more points.
Let's see what Bruce. I don't know if Bruce Arians calls the defensive plays there, but he's going to have something up his sleeve if they want to stop this absolute powerhouse of an offense.
Yeah.
So I think that we see the torch pass. I think that Tom Brady has been in this league for 2 decades. He has been the face of winning Super Bowls. And honestly, I don't think Patrick Mahomes will play to the age of Tom Brady. I don't think he will have
Tom Brady has been in this league for 4 decades. He played in the 90s.
Yeah.
He played in the 2000s. He played in the 2010s. And now here we are in 2020. He hasn't played for 40 years, but he has played across 4 decades.
Yeah.
You can't even make an era argument with Brady, you know?
Yeah. I think I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I usually win Super Bowls don't like taking the over. I don't know what the stated over under on this game is, but I think it's gonna be like 41-35. I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. Listen, I respect Tom Brady too much to say he's gonna get blown out this game. I think it's gonna be a back and forth game.
And he has too many weapons to get blown out.
But I think it's gonna be 41-35. And honestly, I think Travis Kelce gonna be an MVP. I think he's gonna have like 3 touchdowns and like 220 receiving yards.
So I think the Chiefs are gonna win. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna be 76 points scored. But I do have it 34-28. The current over-under is 56.5. And I think obviously we both have that being blown past. I would not be surprised though to see a 17-10 football game.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be crazy. But I mean,
that's why I'm not going to put money on the over, because the thing is I have seen it. I have been surprised when you get to Super Bowls and it's more of a defensive game.
Different.
But yeah. I think with these 2 teams that the likelihood of that happening is less than before.
Right.
Listen, if what's his name, Nick Foles can put 44 points up in a Super Bowl, I think so can Patrick Mahomes.
For sure. I just find the Chiefs to be more focused.
Yeah.
I mean,
with all that said, though, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I would not be at all surprised if the Tampa defense is able somehow to find a way to not shut down Patrick Mahomes in that, but at least stifle them enough. And Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. He has so much more experience in Super Bowls, and he's able to keep his calm. And honestly, if it comes down to, Tampa's down, down 6 points with a minute 45 seconds left on the clock and they get the ball, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they march down, so tactfully, take off every second of the clock and score to walk off with the game.
Yeah, it's definitely a game of it's going to be a game of possession. Time of possession is going to be very key. Who can be holding the ball at the right time? I mean, we're 6 point. We both have 6 points in between the team.
Yeah,
6 points can happen anytime, obviously. So,
and I don't know what kind of fans are going to be in there, but I mean, I think them. How much of a benefit do you think they really get from playing at their home stadium?
I don't think any, because it's not like it sells to you. You don't sell tickets to your...
but still, it's in a locker room. It's a field that
Sure, a field.
I mean, I think that that at least has to. If we're talking point wise, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a field goal.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think it really matters. But I mean, I just find the Chiefs to be like I said, a more focused football team. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a leader. The big play, we barely even talked about the other game because it's not really worthy of having a big discussion on. Mecole Hardman fumbled that football, and it looks like, okay, we're gonna have us a football game. And there's video of Patrick Mahomes. Mecole Hardman's mad. He's throwing his helmet, and Patrick Mahomes comes over and just says, "Hey man, we're just gonna be us. Let's just keep playing. Don't worry about it." Then Andy Reid dials up that 51-yard end around to him.
I'll be honest,
it was over right there.
I had some money on Mecole Hardman having 50 plus receiving yards, and
that was a run.
Well, I know. I looked down for a second. I was looking at my phone, and I looked up when he was running, and I was like, got it. I'm like, yeah. Look at my phone. I'm like, that was a rushing play, son of a.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's it can't be understated. Another Super Bowl for Tom Brady. We had this discussion at the beginning of the year. Who's going to go back to the Super Bowl first? We got our answer. It is as much as I have a distaste for Tom Brady, I in no way can state that we're not watching history. One of the greatest football players that's ever played the game of football. I mean, it's amazing what this guy has done throughout his career, and I'm excited to root against him for another time. I don't think
people really truly appreciate the history that this is like being able to see Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Muhammad Ali in their prime. Being able to.
The prime is a little bit over.
Well, we've seen Tom's prime.
Yeah,
we've seen his entire career.
We did see his.
There are kids out there who are 10 years old who can say I wasn't even alive for some of Tom Brady's prime.
Yeah, like for sure. No, that's it's amazing to see, and it's exact. I mean, everybody loves dynasties. Years after the dynasty's over, and I mean,
there are people old enough to drink legally who can say they didn't truly really get to see Tom Brady at some of his peaks. So, I mean, that is a wild thing to be able to say.
Absolutely.
But all right, let's move into games of the week.
Games of the week. Bobby and Brandon do the work, so you don't have to. The best from around the NHL and what to watch.
All right. I'll be honest. Don't feel nearly as confident in this slate of games that I picked. But for a quick update, I've got 2 games being played tonight. So I am 4-4, and you are currently 4-5. Are you all playing?
I have one game.
You have one
tonight,
game. All right.
Yeah.
So the
games that we have, just to highlight to folks. You have the Islanders beating the Capitals tonight on NBC Sports Network. This is Tuesday the 26th. You have the Preds beating the Blackhawks. And I have the Bruins beating the Penguins tonight. So
yeah, I feel confident about those 2 games. I've had a pretty decent week, 2-1 throughout the week. So hopefully I can get 2 wins out of that and take the lead. But this coming
I hope you don't get 2 wins out of it and don't take the lead.
Yes.
Personally, that's just how I'm feeling.
I'd be surprised if you felt the other way.
I'm what I'm most surprised about through this process?
What?
Neither of us have picked a postponed game yet.
Oh.
I mean, don't you see the little 0 at the end? Remember, these are not ties.
Yeah.
These are, and I immediately regretted our discussion on the ties because of freaking Buffalo last week. But whatever, so who do you got for your first game?
All right, I've got Flames versus the Habs. The night of the show releases on Thursday the 28th. I've got the Habs continuing their dominance against the Flames. That's at 6 p.m. on tonight when the show releases. I think the Habs are just too much. I think eventually they're going to start to hit a little bit of a wall. I don't think it's now.
I have for my first game the Blues Golden Knights. That will be, I think, the second of their. I don't think that's a back-to-back, but they have 2 games in a row on Thursday at 8 p.m. on Thursday the 28th of release day. So tonight, if you're listening to it on release day, but I have the Golden Knights winning that. I do think they're for real. I know you don't, but I'm gonna go with the GKs.
I've got the Leafs versus the Oilers. I think it's going to be a good matchup, and really this one could go either way. And that's the problem sometimes when I'm trying to select the best overall game for people to watch, but then also trying to pick that game, because a lot of times I'm not going to, like, I could easily come in here and pick a blowout game sometimes, but maybe
we really shouldn't, because the original statement of the games of the week, it even says it in the intro. We do the work so you don't have to. If I just pick games against where teams are playing the Ducks,
we'd
in
each
Detroit,
just select Detroit. Yeah,
exactly. So go ahead. Who you
I've got Oilers at that 9 p.m. Puck drop. I've got Oilers winning.
And see, one of the things that I do when I'm going through and picking, I try to pick a different game on every day. So and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes I have multiple games on the same day. But I want the folks that are sitting at home and they're saying, I'm going to watch Brandon's games this week. I want to be able to watch every single one. My second game, I have the Isles Flyers, and this was a pick 'em as well. I have the Flyers winning at 6 p.m. on Saturday, the 30th. I mean, it's one of those games exactly as you said with the Leafs Oilers. I have no clue. I could absolutely lose this 4-0. I could win it 3-2. I could win it 4-0. You know, I mean, it's a tough call, but I really do try to pick the games that I feel are going to be good hockey games, and just hope I get lucky with my choice.
What about your Sunday game?
So the next game on our slate in order, I have the Stars playing the Hurricanes, 4 p.m. on Sunday.
I think that's going to be a good game.
Should be a good game. I do have the Stars winning that. A little bit of a break for the Hurricanes. The Stars are rested. I guess they've shown that breaks don't really matter. But, I mean, the Stars have
your opponent is unable to score on the power play.
Exactly. Well, they have 8 power play goals this season already. The most all time in the NHL through 2 games. Now, to be fair, like 7 of them came in one period. So I thought that period of the Stars against the Prep, there was like 13 power plays. I thought it was never gonna end, Bobby. I was certain that I was stuck in some sort of time loop where I'm just I said, am I in hell? Where I'm just rewatching power play goal after power play goal. But Joe Pavelski's looking for real this year. So I got the Stars beating the Hurricanes, even though I'm big on the Hurricanes this year.
All right, so I've got 2 Monday games, and I think you've got one as well at 6 p.m. on Monday, and both my games are 6 p.m. games, so you can swap. I think all 3 of these are 6 p.m. games, so
you gotta pick.
Hopefully you've got the NHL.TV, and you're just switching between all of them.
I'm guessing that people are going to pick mine.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, just mostly because most of our listeners probably don't have NHL TV. So.
True. All right, so I've got Bruins versus Capitals. I think both of these teams on paper look decent, but the eye test doesn't look. I think both these teams eventually are going to start struggling. I've got the Capitals winning. I think the Capitals struggled against Buffalo a little bit, and they're going to start turning it up a notch, and they might have Ovi back by then. They might have, I think, like all of their Russian players pretty much got but they got in COVID protocol.
Which is not even fair. They're just gonna drink vodka and kill anything inside of them anyway.
Yeah. And then the game after that, I've got Canucks versus the Habs, and I still like the Canucks. I think that last night Thatcher Demko had a great game. I think they won 7-1 last night.
They did,
and so I think Canucks sneaked that one out.
It's the Senators, though.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks win that one in a shootout, to be honest. I think that's a close game. And so what's your Monday night game?
Yeah, I have the Preds Lightning. Obviously, that could be a great game or could be a, not so great game, kind of depending on how the Preds take this back-to-back against the Blackhawks. Do they respond?
Yeah.
Do they respond to the poor 3-game skid that we're on? I mean, it's hockey. Everything it's going to happen. They've lost to 3 good hockey teams.
The Preds are sitting at 4 points. The Blackhawks at 5. But
they've played 2 games against Detroit. So it just, I mean, the 3 losses for the Preds are 2 games against the Hot Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, but we've seen in the past the Preds, they play down to their opponent. And if the Preds screw up and I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Preds drop both these games to the Blackhawks.
No.
And then they would put themselves into such a big hole that
that's more of what I'm saying. This could be one of a premier matchup type of game, or it could be just not. But I do have the Lightning winning that. No harm in losing to the Lightning this year, though. So. But that's 6 p.m. on Monday the 1st as well.
Why don't you give us your last game of the week?
Yeah, I have Tuesday at 7 p.m. the Flames playing the Jets. Don't think that Pierre-Luc Dubois will be active yet. I have the Flames winning this. So many good hockey teams this year that it's really interesting to see kind of where it's going to go from 2 weeks into the season. But I do have the Flames winning. This is 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 2nd.
Yeah, and Brady Tkachuk looking good this year.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I jumped on him. Yeah, I jumped on him pretty early, and earlier than I thought I would in some leagues. And in our high scoring league, I think I took him like first round, second round.
Taking your boy's advice. Hey, that's a win for me, even though it's a loss that you have.
Yeah.
So
all right. So last game of the week, 7:30 over on NBC Sports. I've got Wild versus Avs. I think it's gonna be a good matchup. I think that is both teams, I think, I could see these three teams, Wild, Avs, Knights, being the top 3 teams over in the West. And I think,
man, be careful with those bold statements that you're making.
So I think Avs take this one on the back of their star players, and I think Cale McCarr is going to have a good game. So I'm taking the Avs over the Wild on the last game.
10 good hockey games that we have this week. Yeah. So looking forward to. Hopefully making a little comeback here on you. I need you to lose 2 tonight. I need to catch a win tonight. But I feel like all 10 of our games this week, really, I don't think that anybody picked one that couldn't go either way, realistically. So great picks.
All right, let's move into joke of the week.
The weird. Corey Perry. See, I don't like this. Wild. I think the first read was a good one. Now I'm overthinking it. Outlandish.
Each 6th chick sat on a stick. Little tongue twister.
And downright dumb.
Kidding me.
It's time for the joke of the week.
All right, we got one a little close to home here.
This one's Nashville. This is a Tennessean article of all things. This one is a little wild though, man. I don't even know if this should be the joke of the week or the warning of the week.
Yeah.
Nashville lawyer suspended after posting advice on how to make murder look like self-defense. We got Annalise Keating over here. This is how to make a murder, or how to get away with murder. I'm so sorry. Dude, this thing is, I would advise going and reading this. This dude, Winston be sitting. That's his name too. He be sitting in a jail cell potentially at some point. He has been suspended. I would hope some potential, sanctions are coming down the way. I mean, this woman posted on Facebook seeking advice on how to handle a possible abuse or harassment by an ex-partner. And then the attorney encouraged her to lure the man into her home and shoot him, according to an opinion filed by the state's high court. This is the Tennessee Supreme Court that has filed this opinion. He advised her to claim the man broke in with a plan to harm her. And this is a quote he wrote. Even with the new stand your ground law, the castle doctrine is far safer basis for use of deadly force, he wrote. He later posted that the woman should delete her post if she was serious.
Oh.
And as a lawyer, I advise you to keep mum about this if you're remotely serious. So your defense is you're afraid for your life. Revenge or premeditation of any sort will be used against you in trial.
Also, this conversation, we're doing right now.
What? Following the guy's advice, she did delete the post. But not before the ex saw the comments.
I'm like, oh my God.
What? And so the Supreme Court Justice, the Tennessee Supreme Court Justice, Holly Kirby, wrote on the majority opinion. But also, I want to know, is there a minority opinion, or is this not straight across the board? Our rules do not permit lawyers to offer advice on how to commit crimes with impunity.
I do hope, though, that by the ex doing this and taking these screenshots, that they also were like, cool, so does this mean that you are abusive since you're legit worried about this, and that he is no longer, that his abuse has been taken care of? Hopefully he too is also sitting in a jail cell.
Yeah, probably not though, would be my guess, because
one can hope.
You know, you have proof on social media that something has actually occurred. Like, he's not in jail. This lawyer's not in jail. He's just been suspended. Obviously, this guy's a piece of junk if he's been abused. I'm not sitting here. I'm not defending woman beaters. Okay. Like, not at all. We're making fun of the lawyer who, why not?
Private message.
DM the chick. Okay.
Like,
right. I mean, you know, we are anti lawyers advising murder on this show.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement, and you never know which way we're going to come from. But we are definitely, I mean, this dude went to 8 years worth of school to post on Facebook how to help some lady murder some dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little wild. He did claim his comments were sarcastic and part of his dark humor. Did he throw the little /S on it? Because if he didn't /S it,
by internet rules, if you don't do that.
Now, if he /S'd it, this is the wrong decision made by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
My guess is my boy will be sitting. Is that his name again?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Winston. I mean, to be fair, the dude was destined to be a lawyer. His name is friggin' Winston.
I do like the pun that the dissenting the majority opinion said. Lawyers who choose to post on social media must realize they're handling live ammunition. Doing so requires care and judgment. Like, that dude was right. It was like, this is clever. I'm gonna put this in here.
What kind of gun do you think she has, though? You think? I mean, you gotta go shotgun.
I think crossbow.
Ooh.
I think she's got a crossbow in there.
No, you see, but the problem is like, you gotta kill the guy. You have to in order for this all to work, because the crossbow takes a good amount of time to reload.
That would mean that they really sought and planned this. Something tells me if they went through with this, the lawyer would be like, listen, didn't really plan hard, but I brought a crossbow. We'll see how that goes. If not, I have a halberd.
But what I'm saying is, the crossbow got to be one shot. You got to one shot the guy, because if you reload and have to shoot the guy again with the crossbow, then they know. They're like, dude, you were trying to kill this dude. That's why I always suggest the shotgun. You know,
I also kind of expect that the lawyer would be like, listen, we got to film this as proof. And it just goes horribly. Like, she's like, come on. And he's like, no, I'm good. Better. I don't want to come in.
It's even better. It seems like the ex was a him, though. He's like, I don't want to come in. But my favorite thought process of this is, he's filming it with his phone camera, but it's one of those situations where he's got it high up in the air and he's also in the footage. He's like, what up? He's like, holy shit, she just killed this dude. Dude was trying to break in. Dude was trying to break in. /S.
I do also, a little side joke of the week, you guys get too, is the little caption under the picture of the courthouse. And it says, it's now home to a Museum of State Court History. What a boring hit museum.
But also, aren't all courthouses the museum of the history of that court? Like, I could go, you go into the courthouse and you can find out what has been, done within that court, making it historical. I mean, that's very...
Yeah, that's like going to someone's house and be like, I see you have pictures of your family. Is this a museum of your family?
I guess I'm more confused about why the courthouse is this like, can you just go to the museum? Like, that just seems like it just doesn't
So I think that they moved. So it says the building was completed in 1937 and is now on the National Register of Historic Places. It is used by the Tennessee Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals, and is home to a museum of... So it's probably like on some of the older, like non-air conditioned original rooms on like maybe the east side haven't, like, they made that in the museum, and maybe on the west side they like updated it, and maybe.
I guess, but still, like, it just seems like it's not a great plan to have a public venue. Obviously a court is a public venue, but I'm saying additional public venue. It's like, hey, are you here for court? It's like, no, I'm just looking for the museum. Yeah. I mean, and if that, what a beautiful building too. I always laugh back at that guy that tried to set fire to it during like, bro, that is not gonna light on fire. Like, you're gonna definitely need something more than just like starting a fire outside on this like old school masonry.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that ain't working at all. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna catch some potentially federal charges
to destroy some desks
for nothing. Not even that. You're not catching that bad boy on fire, dude. Like, unless you go to the museum, then maybe.
Yeah. And then you'll just get a bunch of old court documents.
I'm gonna burn up these documents. I mean, the place is not gonna go on fire because this is a pretty brick building, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
All right, let's move in. We're talking Mandalorian Season 2. Man, what a great show. What a great season. It's been a couple weeks since it ended, so by now, listen, full on spoilers coming ahead.
Spoilers.
If you don't want it, if you don't like it, maybe fast forward about 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, right, bro. 10 minutes.
Yeah. They fast forward 5 minutes, and then we're just giving them the biggest spoiler of all.
Right. We just now starting talking about it.
But yeah, so I mean, what did you think, man? I mean,
yeah, it was awesome. It is the epitome of, what Disney. It's the exact opposite of what we've been told for our entire lives after the original trilogy was made. That the problem is you can't please young Star Wars fans and new Star Wars fans and old original trilogy fans. I have not heard across the board anybody that has any problem with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's vision of this. It was by far, I love pretty much all Star Wars media. Wasn't as huge of a fan of the new sequels, but I didn't hate them. I have not heard anybody that has anything bad to say about this show, man. It's so well done. It's while simultaneously being lighthearted and fun, having a serious plot line and reintroducing characters that we've all been dreaming of being reintroduced. Boba Fett, for goodness sake, Ahsoka Tano. I mean, the casting so on point. There is not a single individual within the entire show that I was like, I would have thought so and so would have been better. I mean, some people are not huge fans of Cara Dune. She's not a great actor, but her character doesn't really need to be, in my opinion. She's not.
Yeah, I think it's, listen, yeah. It is sometimes hard to separate the actor from their off-screen beliefs, and I usually do a pretty good job at that. But I got to be honest, she's not good at that role. I think it's fine for what it is. It's not like she's like the biggest role in the show. If she was there like every episode, then it
may be a little different to me in that opinion.
And so like I think that if she was like a mainstay for every episode, I'd get old really quickly of just her delivery's bad. But a couple episodes here and there to finish up the season, I'm not worried about it. Especially when she's surrounded by such a great cast that can pick up the slack. I mean, listen. Bill Burr is not...
Dude, he's a great actor.
Yeah, and listen...
Breaking Bad...
Yeah, I've always thought he was a very funny comedian. I get his comedy's not for everybody, but I've always thought he's had some stand-ups that are bad, but he plays that character so well.
That was one of the most impactful scenes in the whole show, and that's saying a lot with a lot of impact. when he's sitting there and he's talking about the Empire and what they've done and what they've cost him while being on the, in the Empire base, it was great, man. It was so good. And it's really hard to kind of pin down. I had to watch a recap of it to kind of remind myself everything that's happened. I am blown away by this. And it's not even just, we get the Grogu or the Baby Yoda, as some will call him. It is just everything about it. Pedro Pascal. I mean, he is a dominant force in the acting world, man.
And I'll be honest, a lot of people, to a lot of people, and I don't know, maybe you too, Baby Yoda and Grogu, to a lot of people, that was the center point. Like that's, to me, that was, listen, it was great. Yeah. I think it's a more of a, it was a side,
it was a plot device.
Yeah, it was a plot device that, and everyone's like, oh, well, what are they going to do without him there? I'm like, he's going to go on with his life. This is not the story of Baby Yoda. It's not called, the show's not called Grogu. It's called The Mandalorian. Right. They couldn't keep up with that. I mean, he's got other shit to do. I mean, what, you want him to just be there while now Grogu learns how to use the Force? Like, that's not a fun, that'd be a fine show.
Him just chilling.
I'm sure Disney will make that an animated show, like, soon.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah,
I'm sure they'll have a whole scene with Kylo Ren just slaughtering Grogu. Or when Kylo Ren is like doing that, and like they flash back to like 3 weeks early, and Grogu gives him a Snickers, and he's like, "You're always nice to me. You can live."
I am just so absolutely pleased with everything that we got in this show. I mean, and to your point of earlier of separating personal views, I'm usually able to do that. I don't worry about somebody's personal views. There's one person, this has nothing to do with specifically what we're talking about. There's one thing that makes me I will boycott you. Kid stuff. Kevin Spacey, that dude is out of my, life forever, Yeah. So I just wanted to be clear, but I hear what you're saying. But in all seriousness, the cameos, my boy Timothy Oliphant, my boy Titus Welliver, it's Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan. I am pumped about that. So let's go into some predictions of what you have for season 3. Do you have
I think it's gonna lean a little bit more into, and I think it's gonna come not right away, but maybe like a quarter way, half through the season. I think they're gonna continue more on like what Boba Fett's doing on, taking over the Jabba's crime syndicate. Yeah, I think that's
his entire show.
Oh, right? I think you're right. Yeah. The Book of Boba. I think you are. Yeah, you're right.
That's gonna be its own show.
I think it'll be. I think it's going to be a lot of crossover, though. I think it's going to.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's going to be kind of like like Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, where it's like they might release on like maybe a Thursday and a Friday, and sometimes like every couple episodes you'll have to watch them both, and so and they'll team up every once in a while. But I think also, speaking of that, I think people forget that Boba's not a good guy. People were like, "Oh, Boba's somebody was saying that Boba's like a hero." I was like, no. Let's get one thing very clear: Boba is not a good guy. He was never a good guy in the Star Wars universe. Like he was still a bounty hunter focused on.
He's a true.
And it's not like he was a bounty hunter who was forced into it. He wanted to become a bounty hunter.
He's not even a real Mandalorian either. He doesn't even have any of the beliefs of the Mandalorian.
And he wasn't even a great bounty hunter to begin with. Like
he was really bad.
People just became a huge fan of him, and I've always wondered.
Well, that's because he got like 10 minutes of screen time the entire original trilogy, so you just never got enough.
And the only reason he got hired was because Darth Vader liked seeing his face every once in a while. It was like, "Oh, you remind me of my boy Rex. Let's
exactly." And he was like, "I know who you are. You hate the Jedi as much as I do because of what they did to your father," type of deal.
Yeah.
So I completely, at the very end, we see him take over what exactly as you said. We see him take over the Hutt crime syndicate.
I would have liked for someone like when Luke comes and gets Grogu, someone would have been like, "Hey, where'd Boba go?" And him like, "I'm sorry, who'd you say? Boba who?"
Say what?
Like, wait, that dude alive?
Yeah. Like, nuh-uh. hold the Grogu.
Yeah, I got something to
Your
do.
boy got some battling to do. But you know, as much as you just talked about Boba Fett, you did not make any season 3 predictions. So,
I said we'd see more of that. But I think that, I mean, it's going to be hard. I think that they thankfully left it. I think we're going to go into, I think we're going to go into Mandalore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The throne. I think we're going to go into the throne of Mandalore. I don't think it's going to. I think we're going to build up to that.
Well, we have a big issue right now. I mean, the Darksaber has been won in battle by Din, by the Mandalorian.
Yeah, well, honestly, looking back at, like, I believe it was either Rebels or the Clone Wars. Like, Ahsoka Tano just gave it to Bo-Katan, and like, or maybe Sabine gave it. Like, she was like, here, take it. And now, like, well, they might be retconning that, and just for the story of plot, which is fine. I get sometimes you got to, when you've got so much, sometimes you got to retcon some stuff. Yeah. But I think
Ahsoka did have it at one point and did give it up. But the difference with Ahsoka giving it up is she is not a Mandalorian. She doesn't have any rights to it anyway. So, I mean, it might have been. I think it might have been Sabine giving it. Yeah, to Sabine gave it up to Bo-Katan. I believe, but I don't think they had to fight because Sabine was a Mandalorian. So I think that could just be a plot device there, and they might use. Yeah. And listen, it could just. More than likely, it's going to be they have a duel. Something happens, and they find a way somewhere in the old text of Mandalore that they can figure it out without having to kill each other. Yeah, I mean, maybe. And see, a lot of people, you said, you know, a lot of people thought Grogu was the center point of the plot. I always knew after the final episode of season 1, the center point of the plot to me has been the Darksaber. That is it.
Oh, for sure. I do think it's funny that in one episode when we meet Bo-Katan, she's like, oh, you're one of those fanatics who won't betray their beliefs that they learned. And now she's like, no, this is my belief that I learned. Right. I can only win this in death combat.
He's like, I yield, you have it. And he's like, not that. She's like, I want to murder you. Okay. I was going to murder this cat over here. So
season 2 just ended with like he let Grogu hold it, and she's like, I've got to kill him now. So
I really hope that it goes towards some like larger scale warfare on Mandalore. I just feel like that is just something we didn't get enough of across the board. You know, I'm very, very excited for season 3. I'm excited for Book of Boba. I'm so excited for Kenobi, dude. This is what everybody has been asking for with Star Wars since the beginning of time, man. We've all been grown adults watching cartoons because that's the only additional lore that we've been able to get. So I cannot wait.
Is Satine dead at this point? Or is she still alive? I have
not finished Rebel. I
can't remember. I'll have to look it up because
I think she's alive because there's some theories online that finding her is going to happen. So I think she's alive. I gotta look at here's what happened. Because she went to look for Ezra. She and Ahsoka were setting off to look for Ezra, I believe. So
okay, so she is still alive then.
I mean, she's not. I believe that she's not necessarily dead. Does that make any sense? She could be dead, but I don't know that we've seen it.
But canon. But as far as canning, okay. Because honestly, if we can, I got to look at the timeline again.
5 year Rebels was 5 years before the blowing up of the Death Star, and this is taking place 5 years after. Death Star's blown up, I believe.
Because if we meet Satine, maybe we get some dope like flashbacks to a young Obi-Wan in her.
Well, but we're potentially going to get some Ezra Bridger. Might be where.
How old would Ezra Bridger be? Like what, in his 30s, late 20s now?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't remember how.
I think he was like 16 or so 26 to 30ish.
Yeah. What actor would you get to play Ezra?
Oh, that is a really, really good question.
Before his issues off screen, I would say let's get Shia LaBeouf to play him.
Maybe, but still, you know, I want to hit you with this. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, dude.
Yeah, that,
you know, I mean, he kind of just fits just like right off the top of my head. Or, as we always suggest on this show, Dave Bird, Little Dicky.
Or hold on, how about now? He would probably have to hit the tanning bed a little bit. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, that could definitely work. What about Rami Malek though? He is a fantastic actor. Probably wouldn't even have to hit too much of the tanning bed. I mean, the thing is, in May, there are a ton of actors that want to play. So I think that we could potentially get anybody, and they could get anybody and everybody. I mean, Jason Sudeikis literally never showed his face to get a cameo in that show.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that those two guys, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, are so well respected within the movie world that it is a dealer's choice on who they can get. I think there's lots of good actors, but it's going to show you. They've gone to show you.
Well, if you want someone who can play anything, no matter what, Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson, I would not argue with that casting. I mean, it may not make as much sense as, as others, but I'm not going to argue with you there. Nicolas Cage, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I think that they can get anybody that they want, seriously. So I'm looking forward to the potential that season 3 is bringing, but just with the world expansion that we're legitimately about to get. They're just going to start overloading us to the point where in 2 years, if we're still doing this podcast, we're going to be sick of talking Star Wars. No, it'll never happen.
In like 5 years, we'll be talking about the recent movie which introduced the black hole, and Thanos came through, and he was like, I have to go to this place now.
Right, exactly. And it's like that Parks and Rec episode where Patton Oswalt does the filibuster and he starts talking about, and he gets to the end of the filibuster and he's like, and that's how when Thanos gets the reality stone, it merges with the Star Wars universe.
Hey, that's what the end of season 3 of WandaVision is going to be.
Take our money.
Yeah. All right. Maybe next week we kind of do an update on, I think we'll be at episode 4 of WandaVision.
Yes.
So we could maybe talk about that next week.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah. Because honestly, season 3, episode 3, really good. All right. So let's move into what are you binging? We're going to start doing this probably once a month because, we're both pretty busy. Haven't been able to binge much lately. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, dude. I've been going back and watching some Breaking Bad, dude. It's so crazy, like how much you remember happens when it's been a while since you've watched. But I haven't seen El Camino, and I do want to watch it, but I did want to go through a rewatch of Breaking Bad before I did. But just to tie it all into Better Call Saul, dude, one of the best shows on television right now. I'm a huge fan of all of that world. Vince Gilligan is killer. But Breaking Bad is what I've been doing a little bit of watching in addition to WandaVision and hockey.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
What about you, man?
Outside of like you said, WandaVision, hockey, been watching some Simpsons to fall asleep to at night. Just we needed to change it up.
American Dad is where I've been sleep-wise.
I see the problem is we've done that so many times. We've done Bob's Burger so many times and Family Guy so many times.
Futurama is
we just got so
sleeper.
I will listen. I love Futurama. But there comes a point, I think, towards the end when they start getting into these overarching episodes where it's like the season has 4 arcs and it's like
you mean when it got canceled and then brought back?
Yeah, and they start I'm like I don't have time to I don't want to watch all these episodes, and it's I think one of them is the reality on a turtle's back or something like that, and I'm just all right, I don't want to do this. But no, The Simpsons. I mean,
never got into it.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was always I'll watch it if it's on or something like that. But I've actually just been putting it on to go to bed. I've also Been doing a little bit of this Disney show, Avengers Assemble, just an animated adventure show. It's all right. I mean, it's very like, it's a kid's animated show for it, but
it's not necessarily Clone Wars in terms of like world building.
Yeah,
and stuff
it's more, but it's pretty decent. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of The Simpsons. Have been so busy. I've been drinking a lot of coffee and got this new Death Wish coffee. It's like 5 times the amount of caffeine in a normal cup of coffee. Yeah, I like it a lot.
I don't think I could do that because I'm drinking like pots of coffee a day now because it's like right next to my desk and I just get up and pour myself.
I usually do 2 cups in the morning and then like I drank 1 before I came.
Yeah, I had been having a little bit of Maker's Mark, dude. I had that. I was drinking on that all day while we were playing some D&D. So you always forget how delicious a Maker's and Coke is. So
yeah.
Bobby and Brandon are about to find out exactly what snaps their sticks.
All right. I think both of our sports ones are based from this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'll start us off, and that is people who are just haters, man, for no reason. I see people all over social media. I see people talk about it in real life. They refuse to admit that Brady and the same with LeBron are good at what they do. Yeah. These people will go to their death saying they're like, "Oh, Brady's overrated." Here, Brady got gifted all of his Super Bowls. He's only good at Tampa because they have a good defense. And
cheater, they'll definitely throw cheater in there.
They'll say,
which he is. He's an admitted cheater.
Yeah, but so are many other people in the NFL. But I believe the Colts are the most cheating team. Either the Colts or the Texans are the cheatingest team in the NFL historically.
Only because the Pats never got in trouble for their cheating. That's not a fair assumption, but go ahead.
Anyways,
I digress on your comments.
But anyway, the amount of times that people, it will, at no point will it ever hurt people to just say, you know what? I don't like Tom Brady, but the man,
I say it all the time.
Yeah, listen, you can not like a player and still respect the fact that he is ridiculously talented. And everyone's like, well, he didn't do it by himself. Nobody's ever saying that Brady goes in and wins. Even Brady's not going to say, yeah, I did it by myself. Everyone knows that sports are a team sport. Like,
especially football.
Yeah, like it's just wild to me that people still to this day, like Brady could go and win 5 Super Bowls in a row, and people would still say, he's not that good. And people are like, well, Rodgers is better. It's like, obviously not. Because Rodgers
it just depends on what you're saying. Like, I personally think that as far as like when it just comes to being a football player, I've always thought that Peyton Manning is a better football player. But there ain't no argument that Tom Brady is the best quarterback in the NFL by nearly every metric. I have a distaste for Brady. If we had this man on the podcast, I would tell him that I disliked him. But it's exactly what you said. I can't sit here and say that he's bad. I can't sit here and argue that he is not. There's always arguments to be made of who's the greatest quarterback. What are your metrics? What do you... But
and now people think, he's just chasing rings. It's like, yeah. What? Why wouldn't you be? Who?
But
wouldn't
also,
be
like, what else are you supposed to be doing? Like chasing rings.
Yeah. Like it's not like the Patriots begged him to stay and he left. They left on mutual terms. Like,
right.
If he didn't leave, they would have pushed him out.
I mean, in LeBron did leave Cleveland and then came back and won that city a championship. Yeah. So like, you can't say anything. So yeah, I hear you. We talked a little bit about it. The inconsistent officiating. It's mainly based off of the distaste of what happened this weekend, but it's a constant. It's a constant across all sports. Call the game like you've been calling the game. If you want to call a penalty, I may disagree, I may agree, but as long as you're calling it on the other side, then, and basketball is a terrible thing for this because of the makeup calls. You get an obviously not a great call because they knew they made a bad call earlier. I don't like that. Call it consistently across the board. Inconsistent officiating is the bane of sports right now because these are billion dollar industries. And especially with the wide mainstream expansion of sports betting, you are legitimately potentially losing people money.
It's wild when, gambling places, which, for a long time, sportsbooks have been known to be like, not the best people. When sometimes sportsbooks are giving you bad call, payouts, that tells you.
Well, that's early on in the process of these sportsbooks becoming a thing, and that's how you draw in your customers, because the next time a bad thing happens and they don't do something about it, you'll think, well, they did that for me that time. But even so, I mean, that's great. Obviously, sports gambling used to be pretty much confined to dudes that would break your legs, and they're definitely not giving you your money back, and especially not paying you out on a bet. So I completely agree, but it's becoming a lot more important, and it is going to be there's going to be a lot of pressure on sports leagues to fix this.
Yeah. It is weird, and obviously, we're in the middle of this segment, seeing how much, 3 years ago, I remember watching an interview with, I think it was Troy Aikman and Jim Nantz, and they were talking about how it was like the death wish to your career as a announcer or a commentator to even mention gambling on air.
Now they're like advertising odds and stuff.
And Troy Aikman was literally saying that 2-3 years ago, he literally just said, "Oh, I wonder what the over under on this game is," and he got fined, and I think it was CBS or Fox was like, we will get pulled off the air if you say that.
Brent Musburger is huge. He's a huge into gambling, and I'm not a huge Musburger fan, but he found his way around that. He would always say things like, that score was super important to people out in the desert talking about Vegas. And it was a great way for people that knew what he was talking about to know, but not saying anything that crossed any lines. But yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, now what they need to do is they need to revise the tax implications that come. If you
have to report your winnings, you should be able to deduct your losses.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of something, the tax code definitely needs to be updated, especially with this clearly.
Yeah. Also, if you're somebody out there who bets a lot, do not take legal advice on tax forms from a Reddit. I was just scrolling and someone was like, "Here's the info," and it's like, just go to your standard deductions and put your losses in there. And everyone was like, "No, don't do that. That's very illegal. The IRS will come knocking if you try to pass gambling losses as standard deductions."
Yeah.
So don't do that. So why don't you give us your non-sports?
Mine doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but my neighbor's dog, dude. It's been a year and a half. I go out to smoke multiple times a day. Why are you still barking at me every time, constantly? There's been one time that he is legit barked at me for 15 minutes straight. No stopping. Not like, oh, I moved or something and it scared him and he just started barking again. Just bark, 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 bark. You'll think, okay, he's going to stop. But no, he was just gearing up for more barking. Oh, I wish, I'm not a fan. I do need Winston be sitting to give me some legal advice on how to murder this dog, though.
All right. I've got, this is very simple, and this is a little bit of an attack on my wife a little bit. Pancakes, people who think pancakes are better than waffles. I don't know what world of absolute wrongness they live on. Yeah. Waffles are the superior to pancakes in every single way.
There is Stephanie's not really a huge fan of either. I also think that's wrong, but at least I understand it. But then she tried to show me this waffle iron, pancake iron thing that makes a pancake with a waffle inside of it. And she's like, it's the best of both worlds. It's like, no, all waffle or get out of here, bro. What are you doing?
And people who say, oh, waffle's just a different shape. No, it is a different texture. It's a different flavor profile. It holds the syrup better.
Either way, I don't hate pancakes. I just think they're not as superior as waffles.
Listen, and that's the thing is pancakes are still good.
If for those of you out there listening, put peanut butter on your pancakes and waffles, bro. It is the absolute best way. It's to the point where I will not eat those two items without peanut butter.
Creamy or crunchy?
Whatever, dude. As long as it's peanut butter. Also, and they're like, well, I like to do butter. bro, they're in a world where you can do both.
Yeah.
Okay. Both. And I'm a stacker. Each waffler pancake with peanut butter, stack them. Make sure there's butter all over them.
Make sure they're still warm so the peanut butter starts to get a little creamy and melty.
Dude, it is. Oh my!
I've never done it with peanut butter. I'm going to.
Oh, why have you not?
I don't know, but I got to.
You're missing out. Peanut butter. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
That's the move.
But all right, guys, it was a great episode, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.